Hello and welcome back, all the bearers of the word, all you heretical little miscreants, and welcome back to another episode of Lynch Paints, where today I'm going to be showing you all how to paint the first heretic legion, the word bearers, as voted for by my wonderful subscribers. And if you want to get involved with that sort of thing, with voting, then do become a subscriber. It's the only way to do, and it takes a few seconds of your time, so you want to just click it down below. That'd be fantastic. And while you're down there, like, comment, subscribe, do all that usual stuff, because it makes me happy and it grows this little channel of mine, and it's just fantastic. Lets me know that I'm doing a good job. So with all that waffling out of the way with, let us grab our paints and paintbrushes and sing from our holy scriptures, and let's dive straight into this. However, before we get started, we're going to need a selection of paints, and these are all the ones I've used in this video today, alongside which we're going to need a medium-sized basing sort of brush. We're going to need a finer basing size detail-ish kind of brush, and then we're going to need, of course, our teeny tiny brush for all of those teeny tiny heretical places. Alright, my little heretical sons and daughters, we are going to start out with a black acrylic primer, just going all over your miniature. Then we're going to do something very similar to the one that we did with the Blood Angels. So we're going to start out with Screamer Pink and a form of black. I've got Horus Black, so it's a very dark grey. But if you have Abaddon Black, then just use that instead, or something similar. Basically, we're going to do a very dark layer of Screamer Pink going over the miniature. I'm just going to dip our brush into a little bit of water just to help with the flow. And then we're going to ignore the shoulder pads because they're going to be black. I believe the backpack as well, not too sure. But anyway, I'm going to start out with this kind of about 50-50 mix with a medium-sized brush, which is going to go all over the armor panels. Now that our first layer is dry, we're just going to add in more Screamer Pink into our mixture, make it a little bit lighter, and then we're going to go in again, but this time we're going to just start to wet blend our way to a successfully, beautifully painted heretic. Now this is where we're going to introduce a little bit of our lovely Mephiston red into my mixture. So looking at the colorways that Games Workshop used to do word bearers back in the old Fordwell days, it's a very dark red. It's almost similar to corn red, if you guys remember how that sort of paint looks. Whereas at the minute, with the new, I mean, as you know, I'm going to rant every time every time I do a video like this about the Games Workshop style of painting, the Horus Heresy range. It's just far too cartoonish. It's the same guys that do the 40k style of things, and I really don't like it. I much prefer the old way of the old design team that used to paint the Fordwell stuff, because it was really nice. It's really gritty, it's very dark, and just fit the aesthetic of what the Horus Heresy is. So we're not going to be painting a Blood Angel disguised as a word bearer. No, we're going to paint a nice darker red that's going to be very distinguishable from the Blood Angels. Whereas at the minute, if you go onto their website, you have a little look, and it just looks like a Blood Angel. It really does. It's, yeah, a little bit frustrating, but yeah, if you've been watching many of these by now, you know that I just not a fan. I mean, it's the same thing with how they paint the new Night Lord stuff. It just looks like an ultramarine. They're meant to be midnight clad, like really dark blue. That's how I paint mine, because, well, you know, it's the only way to do it. But they look a bit like a Crimson Fist, especially when they've got the red fists on there for the some Night Lord characters that are marked for censure by Conrad Kurz. So we're going to go with this, with a nice deeper red. And just gauge how much Mephiston red that you put into it, into the mixture. If it looks like it's too bright, then you can always just add in a little bit of your black, a little bit of the Screamer Pink, just to bring the colours back down again. But because we are thinning our paints down with a little bit of water or of the layman medium, then when it dries, hopefully it shouldn't be as much of a change between tones. Now, once that layer is dried, we're going to add in some more of our Mephiston red, but then we're going to temper it with a little bit of our Corpus black as well. I'm just going to dip my brush into a little bit of water. I think that's probably too much. Yeah. Don't want it to be quite like a wash. We do want it to be at least a little bit thinner than just whacking it on straight from the pot. Because that way, if you do make any mistakes, you can quickly wipe it off. And also it just helps to blend in with the previous tone. So this time we're just going to go in and do just a little bit more. Make the colour stand out just a teeny tiny bit more. So for a final sort of blend slash highlight, I'm just going to mix in just the Mephiston red and the Screamer Pink, about a 50-50 mix. And I'm just going to go around and just pick out just a few areas just to add a little bit more contrast. And again, just make sure that you keep your paints nice and thinned with water. If you wanted the highlights, then go ahead, just highlight away. I'm not going to bother, purely because I think that with this like wet blending style, you don't really need to, and it's quite fun really. You don't tend to have to think about it too much. Just make sure that as you're building up your colours, and they are getting lighter and lighter, just put them into smaller and smaller areas, using the light from your lamps as a bit of a direction as to where to put the lighter shades, and you'll be absolutely golden, and you'll get fantastic results. Is it the quickest way of painting your models? Probably not, but I find it really, really satisfying. You get a much nicer, much kind of deeper contrast levels as well. And again, if you're not a fan of highlighting like I am, then it means then you can avoid that tedious slog of a step. So I'm pretty happy with how the red's turned out. It's nice and dark. It doesn't look like it's too much like a Blood Angel. So again, this is probably how Games Workshop at the moment would paint word bearers, whereas no, it's definitely this nice darker, more crimson red. So don't paint it like this, paint it like this. Now, we're going to move on to the dark areas now, so the black armour. So we've got some of this lovely Corvus black. Again, if you've got Abaddon black, just and you don't have this, then mix in just a little bit of a grey just to make it a little bit lighter. And then I'm just going to thin it down, already thin it down with some water. And then we're just going to go over the shoulder pads. And then any other areas that I've left black, so I think the knee pad as well. Once that's dried, we're then going to go and add a little bit of the Storm Vermin fur into our mixture, and I mean like a tiny little bit, because we still want those kind of dark blacks shoulder pads to be as dark as possible, but just give it a little bit of colour. So with this, you could thin it down and just kind of wet blend as we've been doing, or you could probably use a sponge and sort of dab it on and create a bit of texture like that sort of thing. You could always just do that over the entire model if you wanted as well. But I'm just going to keep it simple. Just use a brush. Again, just keep it thinned with a little bit of water or your medium. And that should just about do it. And again, if you wanted to highlight it, then by all means go ahead. And then just use more of your grey, the Storm Vermin fur, the lighter grey, and then just give it a little bit of a highlight if you wanted to. And again, you can use this mixture as well for your weapons. So I have used it for the chainsword and obviously the bolt pistol as well. Just give it just a little bit. So these would obviously have a little bit more battle damage and wear and stuff as the armor. If it's not bright enough for you, then you can always just add in more of the storm vermin fur and then just give it a little bit of a highlight, like around the weapons and such, and obviously where we've been going so far. Now we're going to move on to our metallics. So I've got this slightly smaller brush, and we have our lovely Iron Warriors. And then we are going to use this and go over, obviously, all of the metallics. So pick out as much as you like. You can obviously do all the rivets if you wanted to, but I'm not going to bother because that's going to take a little bit longer, and we want to keep these videos at least relatively short. And then the final thing you can do if you wanted is to use some of this Runefang steel and give it a little bit of a highlight just on your metallics, just to make them stand out and be a little bit more pronounced. Now we're going to move on to doing the eyes, the little lenses. So we're going to need a teeny weeny teeny tiny brush and some of this lovely white scar. I am in desperate need of getting some more of this. I'm going to use as much as I can. So we're going to start out just by filling in where the lenses are, and just be very, 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 very careful. Unlike me, that's just immediately gone over the top there, but it's not too much of an issue because what we can do is that we can always just tidy it up afterwards. But the main basis is just getting that white in there, down, and secure. So because I've thinned it down with a bit of water, it's not going to be as bright. So then what we can do is that we can just add in a little bit more, but more towards the front of the lens here. And the same on the other side. There we go. It is a bit rough, but we're going to tidy that up now. So what we can do is we can just very quickly grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of the other. So a little bit, little bit, little bit of our three colors that we used for the armor, and then we're going to get relatively close to how it looks. And we can just go over and just neaten it up. But of course, if you end up spilling white just underneath the lens and you want to have that glow, then you can just leave it where it is and have that sort of nice sheen, nice glow effect. Because now it's going to close these up, move them out of the way. I'm going to grab our little secret sauce, Build Tan Green. I'm going to grab some of this, and I'm just going to drop it in, just like that, into the lenses, and that way we're going to get really nice green when it dries. If it looks like it's a bit too dark of green, you can't quite see the white, then just wipe up some excess, and then the bristles, using a capillary action, will draw some of the glaze out of the lenses until you have something that looks pretty darn good. If it draws up too much, it's fine, just add some more back in. So that's about done. No, it's not. I'm just going to add some. I was just looking at the trim thinking that could do with a little bit of something. So I'm going to add some of this Agrax Earthshade. Can't get my words out. So I'm going to use this, just go in over the silver work. The reason why I'm using this as opposed to the Null Oil, which is a dark, it's a black wash, whereas this is more of a dark brown, is because the brown is a nice warm colour, and that's going to complement the warm hues of the red that we've used. If you were using something that was more of a cooler colours, so like your blues, then definitely use your null oil. But that will do. And obviously, you know, you can go crazy with the earth shade. You can kind of put it on weaponry, you can put it on all of the metal areas if you wanted. You know, don't have to just do the trims, but I'm just going to do the shoulder pad trims and leave it as that. So I'm going to clear a bit of space, I'm going to load up the logo, I'm going to do a bit of freehanding. Alrighty, so I've got the logo loaded up. I'm not going to do the one with the face on it, just because it looks a little bit too tricky to do. So I'm just going to start out. It's just going to be the Burning Book logo. I'm going to attempt to do. So I'm just going to load up these paints. That book's got, it's like a dark red around the outside. So I'm going to wet my brush a little bit and let's get started. And so here we are at the end of the video. So this is how I go about painting the word bearers for your Horus Heresy legions. It's been quite a fun one to do, relatively quick apart from that logo. So unless you're feeling brave enough to doing it freehand, which I would always encourage, to give freehanding a go. It's not as scary as you think. But this one does require a fair bit of practice before you kind of attempt to do this. So if you are a little bit worried, then there's no shame in just getting the shoulder pads that you can get, or any of the transfer sheets. Just use them. But again, you know, I would always encourage, if you want to give freehanding a go, just go for it, because it is a lot of fun. It is quite satisfying indeed. So if you want to pick up some of these miniatures for yourselves, then I have an affiliate link for Wayland Games in the description. You can save yourself a bit of money, and I get a little bit of kickback as well for each order that is confirmed, and that just helps me to fund more models, to do more tutorials, and everything that you guys have come here and love, really. So thank you ever so much for checking that out. Also, if you are new, then welcome aboard, and if you haven't subscribed, then what the heck are you doing? I'm going to send Lorgar after you. I mean, to be honest, that's not much of a threat, really. I mean, it's Lorgar. But if you want to, kindly consider the stuff down below, all the usual YouTube stuff, you know, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and the bell as well. I do often forget about to mention about the bell, but it's there for you to click for your consideration if you'd like. And there'll be some stills and reels of this miniature over on my Instagram page at Lynch Paints. You want to go check me out over there as well. And I do have a new Discord server, so if you want to get chatting about the Heresy, about 40k, about Star Wars Legion, whatever hobby it is that you're into, then you can find us over there. And yeah, have a little chat, hang out, and have a little bit of a laugh at some other businesses' expense, or just whatever you like, really. It's, yeah, just want to kind of grow it a little bit. So with all of that said and out the way with, thank you ever so much for tuning in once again. Hope you're all having a lovely week. Stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you all next time.